Welcome to Coffee and the Bull.
But I always like enjoy watching the stories. My brother had one, but I like watching the stories where like you see Dad spend all night,
Right.
building the dollhouse.
Right.
And it's when I say all night, like 6 or 7 hours to
Yeah.
put this thing together. It's just this big monstrosity that he's just got all these the hopes and dreams. She's going to be playing with, or
Right.
or whatever. And you got the male counterpart to it, for sons, but. The daughter walks in and sees it, goes, "Yay!" And that's it.
Right.
And it's just like it just destroyed. It's like I just spent all this time.
Right.
I always enjoy. I haven't had one of those yet, so I guess maybe that's why I enjoy it. It may, that may be something that they can email about and say, "Hey, it's not that funny, Mike."
Right. Right. You spend hours on a dollhouse.
Yeah. So it's one of the things I don't. What I don't like is. Obviously, not to beat a dead horse or get on a soapbox. I don't like the commercialization of everything. Like,
Yeah.
man, you get fed, Christmas ads since before Halloween, and
Right,
it's,
right.
buying this or buying that. And what I don't get, and maybe somebody can shed some light on this, is the car commercials. Like,
Right, right.
slap a bow on a sports car or whatever, and you give it to your wife. And I'm like, if I was to take and buy a car and bring it home and be like, haha, surprise, babe, here you go. We're going to have the biggest fight in the history of fights. Because it's like, why did you spend, $30, $40, $60,000 on a car?
right.
We can't afford a car. But I was thinking of you. They gave me two,
Right.
It's surprisingly, they'll sell you two.
You wouldn't believe the interest rate we got. It's
Right.
under 30%.
Right. It's always laugh at that because I just think it's ridiculous. But it's one of the things where it comes with it. I get stores are trying to make money. People are trying to grow their business. It is what it is. But I don't like that. Sometimes I feel like it goes a little far where that's all it winds up being, and that's why
Right.
you see like Black Friday and stuff like that. People used to get in fights. So now I don't think it's so much because most of it's online because we don't like driving anywhere.
Right.
And dealing with crowds, but I think there's sometimes that's all it becomes. It just you go somewhere expecting the gift. As a kid, it's okay. As an adult, if you walk to my house, you're like, "Hey, where's my Christmas gift, bro?" Like I get like
You were welcomed in the door.
you were-
Merry
And
Christmas.
so, but I've also had the times where especially when me and my wife first set out in our marriage. We didn't have kids, and we bought for all the nieces and nephews, and because I come from a big family, there's a bunch of nieces and a bunch of nephews.
Yeah,
and,
you do got a big
and everything
family.
else, and it's like, okay, so I'm not complaining about that, but then this person bought something, so we had to buy something for them, and this one bought something, and so it just wound up becoming. By the end of it, we're like, holy crap, man, and that's
Right.
and that's why we had the conversation a couple years in a row where it's like, let's just not buy for each other because we were buying for other people. Well, I was misplaced on my part, But I think sometimes it puts you in a big financial burden that you got to hey, now I'm going to have to go work some overtime. The Christmas day that I was going
Right.
to try
I
to
gotta
enjoy
make
off,
up.
I got to spend that money now on paying off the credit cards that I use to go buy all these
Right.
gifts.
I got a car for Christmas one time.
A car?
Yeah, and it was the best and worst Christmas present I'd ever gotten in my life. And I'm pretty sure I've told you at some point that a friend of mine in high school actually used this story to win free tickets to a country music concert. So it was the Christmas right after my mom had passed away, and my dad was trying his best to make it better for my sister and I.
Right.
And so, it's Christmas morning, and at this point, my dad is, he's kind of moved on. I've got, she became my stepmom later on, and she's got 2 kids. So it's 4 of us waking up. I'm the oldest at this point, still in the house, and get out, and typically growing up, the oldest always went last, or the oldest was the one that would hand out the gifts or something like that, because at that point, Santa's not real. And so I'm sitting on this couch, and
I did not approve of him saying that, so sorry in advance.
I apologize. Don't listen with kids in the car. I got nothing. First off, you're listening with kids in the car when nurses are talking.
so
That's on you.
Yeah.
That's we
That's
know
on
we
you.
shouldn't be on
If you're an
speakerphone.
adult and this is news to you, I apologize, but it's somebody had to tell you.
Right. So I'm sitting on the couch and I'm watching my kid sister, my stepbrother, my stepsister. They're opening presents, and I mean they're opening a lot of presents. And Dad went all out that year. I'll tell you right now, that was our biggest Christmas ever. And
Mm-hmm.
Dad was doing his best. So after about 20 or 30 minutes, I start to realize I ain't opened the first damn thing, and presents are starting to run out under that tree. So I'm kind of looking around, and I'm not saying anything, and I look over at him, and he's got this big grin on his face, and I see him every now and then side-eye me, and I'm like, what is going on?
Oh man, I'm about to poke your eye out,
bro. And I'm
look at me
getting
one more
madder.
time.
I'm getting madder and madder.
But you're trying to mask it.
Oh yeah, because I'm
You're
like,
you don't want to be that kid.
right. I don't want to come off ungrateful right off the bat. Like maybe, and I'm thinking in my head like in my life.
Such
I'm
a
like,
weird thing. Like I'm ungrateful for not getting a present.
Right. So all the presents are done, and I'm like, okay, all right, well, all right.
This is the year I burned the house down.
Right. Man, if you were wondering if I was moving out anytime
this
soon,
day.
Right. So he's
Kneel before John.
right. Throwing trees out windows and stuff. So he gets up and he goes, you like your present? And I was like, think you're funny, don't you, old man? And he goes, it's in the top of the tree. So I get up and I go look at the tree, and I'm looking. I don't see anything. He goes, look between the branches. I mean, Dad, it's a 6-foot tree. Not much of this tree I haven't looked at. Like, there's nothing in here. And so he walks over and he kind of tilts the angel back, and he reaches up and he pulls out, and I'm talking about this tiny little box. And he hands it to me, and I went, that's it?
Jewelry.
Yeah,
Necklace.
this is what you got me? You got I'm stepping over presents to get to this little dinky box, And open it up, and it's got 2 rusty keys in it. So those of you that don't know, vehicles back in the day took 2 keys.
Mm-hmm. One for the door, one for
Right. Round key was the door, square key for the ignition. So if you were blind, you didn't mess that up. So he goes, look out the front door. So I open the front door, and there is a 1976 rust orange, not the color it was painted at the factory. I thought you lit something on fire for a second.
Yeah. Almost
It is
the dad joke box.
It is literally covered in rust because Colorado salts their roads. And I look at this heap of truck, and it came from a neighbor. He'd bought it from our neighbor. Our neighbor was named Moose. He was one of few men that I knew could look my daddy in the eye. And he bought it from them. And he leans down, and I don't know if I should be happy that this is my first vehicle or that I should be unhappy that this is my first vehicle, because this thing does not look good. It's not a pretty truck, nothing.
Right.
He leans down and in my ear goes, Merry Christmas, boy. You owe me $1,000. And I'm like, you paid for that? And I can see in his face, like, I've just cut him. I've cut that dude with a hot butter knife. And he goes, well, yeah, how you think I got it? And I was like, it looks priceless, Dad. So I go out single
We're
cab.
making memories.
Right. I go out there single cab. This is December in Colorado. He goes, fire it up. I'll tell you what doesn't fire up.
Wait. Remember that Breaking the Stratton?
Right.
Wait.
So I'm out in this truck, and I'm just click. I'm like, Daddy, it's not going to start. Pump the gas pedal 3 times. And I'm like, you've got to be shitting me. So I pump it 3 times, and I crank it, and I see Moose looking over the fence. Because he's a big dude,
You didn't realize there's an order of operations to get this old rust bucket going.
So he comes over, and he opens the door, and he goes, you got the heater turned on? I was like, of course the heater is turned on.
Snowing.
It's December in Colorado. And he goes, turn the heater off. I reach over, and this isn't no dials, okay? There's no dials on this. This is the lever that slides back and forth. So I slide it to the middle to be off, and he goes, no, to air conditioning. I said, it is December, and he goes, put it on air conditioning. So I slide it all the way over. Turned out air conditioning didn't work in this truck. Soon as it went over, he goes, go ahead, turn it now. How many times did you hit the gas pedal? I said 3 times. He goes, 1 more. I hit it 1 more time. fires right up, and it's not like this healthy fire up. It's like a. He looks at my dad and he goes, "Just carb, be all right." And he goes back to his house, and
Right.
my dad just big grin on his face, and I was like, all right, turn the radio on. Radio didn't work. He goes, "Don't worry, got your radio in the truck." Goes over to his pickup, which at the time, this is 2002. It's a brand new F-250, and I'm like, okay, all right, this is where we're at. So he brings me over this Explode radio, Sony Explode,
Right.
that does not fit.
I had the same thing.
Yeah, so I'm like, "Daddy, what do we do?" And he goes, "Go get the jigsaw, put the metal cutting blade in it." And he takes the old radio out. We cut a square into the metal radio, because this is before plastic came out. Put this thing in there, put the speakers in the door, and he goes, turns the volume to like 15. He goes, "That's as loud as it should ever be in here." And I'm like, "You're not in the truck. What do you don't know how loud it should be in this truck." 6 months later, it's my birthday. I know we're on Christmas, but this is the importance of this truck. 6 months later, it's my birthday. Show up at his house. "Happy birthday, kid." I'm like, "Oh, you remembered." He goes, "Nope, I didn't. But 2 weeks ago, I knew your birthday was coming up at some point. It's under that tarp. Got a big old trailer, big tarp on there." Flip the tarp over. "Daddy, the only thing under here is a tire." He goes, "You may not realize this, but that tire don't fit anything I own. Goes to your truck because you don't have a spare tire." Then my stepmom comes out, hands me $60, and she goes, "You're going to need this at some point. I don't care what you do with it, but that's your birthday money." That night, hydroplaned, hit a curb, got a flat tire, had to spend $30 to get a flat jack, then $30 to buy a new rim and tire because I hydroplaned and busted the other tire. I had never had a flat tire in that stupid truck till that moment. And so, like I said, the truck was a heap. I blew the motor in it within, 3 months. I'd transmission ended up having to get replaced. Like, it was a huge heap of junk. But it was one of the building blocks of my mechanical knowledge that I know how to replace an engine. I know how to replace a transmission. I know how to, fix this or whatever. The numerous accidents I got in that truck, I'm unscathed because that truck was a tank. And we're talking in 2000s when I'm driving this thing, 02, 03, and plastic vehicles were a big thing. They not even as big as they are now, Dude, I ran that truck into so much stuff.
Right.
And so it's...
Now, so with the older truck, I'm assuming you had to do something with oil. So that's going to bring me to the next question.
Yep.
All right. Why did the cat put oil on the mouse?
Why, Mike?
Because it squeaked. The whole story was just a setup, a joke.
Thanks, Brittany.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thanks, Brittany. Remember, Coffee&theBull, yahoo.com. Let us know how much you hate her jokes.
These are Mike's jokes. Don't tie me to those. These are not my jokes.
So, guys, we want to say thank y'all for taking a moment out of your day, listening to us. We're just telling some Christmas stories, just kind of enjoying it, having a good time. This is a week you're going to be seeing family members you normally don't see all year. You're going to be taking a moment,
traveling.
and just enjoying.
Some I do want to touch on before we pop off. This is a rough time of year for a lot of men, and we deal with this day in and day out during this month specifically because there's a lot of pressure on dads. We go year round at work. We try to save up, and it's always around this time of year that we start to go, you know what, I don't need to pay this bill or this bill. I want to make sure I do this or this or this, and this is the time of year where dads start to feel like the failures
Inadequate.
and inadequate. And so I want you guys to take away two things from this. One of them being that your presence is the present that, and I know that sounds cliche, that's what's going to be the memory for them. Because like we've said, we can't remember the presents we got as kids.
Right.
I remember Daddy showing up. And that's a memory that will stick with me for the rest of my life, is that man jumped through the hoops to be there for that Christmas. Number one, be present. Be there present as, put a bow on yourself and lay under the tree if you got to. Be present for them, but also don't let the stressors of this holiday and the weight of this holiday put you in that headspace to say, I don't need to be here anymore. Because in all reality, you check out, you destroy that holiday. You destroy that magic. And don't let it get you to that point. And so as much as you're enjoying the holiday, for those of you that are enjoying it, those of you that aren't enjoying it, if you get into that boat and you can't get a hold of a friend or whatever, please dial 988 and stop yourself before you check out and you can't come back from it, because you can always come back. There's no point in this life that you can't undo your wrongdoings. So that's to end it on a serious note, on a happier place. Merry Christmas. I hope everybody had a great time. New Year's is around the corner, where we can all laugh at all the idiots that get on Facebook and say, it's the new year, new me, I'm going to go to the gym. Tell you where I'm not going to go. Never. It's the gym. I don't even like going to calls at the gym.
And on that note, to dilute.
Let's repeat.